Joyous Rising family, Grand Rising, Great Rising. Welcome back to the Dr. Kia Pruitt Show. I hope you're having an amazing Friday. Happy Friday! Today is Friday. It is April the 21st, 2023, and the time is 11 o'clock a.m. We're so glad to see you back with us today. Check in and let us know where you're coming in from. So today we have our co-host, the wonderful, amazing mother of the Patriot community, Gold Star Mother Susan Price. She's here today to talk to us and to co-host a wonderful, wonderful guest. So, Mother, welcome back to the show. How are you today?
Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Kia. And it is a wonderful Friday. I'm so glad to be back. And for our viewers, love you all, friends all over the world. And boy, we're getting close, aren't we? We're getting close from the news that we're getting.
Very close, especially considering we got that EBS announcement yesterday.
Yeah, I got two of them, and
Wow.
all around the United States and over in Europe. And
Mhm.
I guess the United Kingdom and Ireland are getting theirs on Saturday or Sunday.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
over
think it
the
was.
weekend.
I've
Yeah.
heard the 22nd and I've heard the 23rd, so I'm not exactly sure which day, but it is this weekend.
They're not going to tell us that it's just going to happen. And they even mentioned from different sources I have, and we know because Q had told us about the 34 satanic monuments that are supposed to go down, and it's supposed to look like a false flag of great
Mm.
proportion, like, bigger than 9/11. But we know we can't go into the new without taking down the old. And also, you found some interesting things in the paper yesterday or online, didn't you, about in the state of Florida with the hospitals?
Yes, I thought that was interesting. They said they were going to have a lot of training happening in the hospitals and that we would see high traffic ambulance on the streets and surrounding the hospitals because of this simulation of um, multi-level simulation of patients. I don't know, almost as if they're preparing for something to
Yeah.
deal with sickness and patients, a lot of patients here in the state of Florida. I don't
Well,
have it
from
right in
my
front of me, but it kind of made me a little uncomfortable.
from my experience as a researcher for almost a decade and a half,
Hmm.
this is what they do when they want to spin a false narrative. They,
Mm.
they hire people and they put all these things on social media, a scare tactic. But we know better than that, guys. So don't buy into it. It's all part of, the plan. But on the other note, now today's guest is a very good friend of ours and a new friend.
Yeah.
And he wrote the book, The Global Financial Transition. And his name sounds like a fine wine, Michael
It really
Avignon.
does.
And he is the cat's meow, let me tell you. So,
Oh Lord, ladies, get ready. He is pleasant to look at.
well, we'll bring him on. And he has some good, he's like a wizard of this financial uh, intel. So, hello, Michael. How are you?
Hi,
Hi,
Michael.
ladies. Nice to
Hello.
see you. It's an honor to be here. Wow, what an introduction. Could I have been more flattered? I don't think I ever have been. So
We're
thank you.
we're fans, Michael. We're
Oh,
fans.
we
Yeah.
are
Well,
huge
I'm
fans.
fans of yours as well. So
Oh,
it's
Thank
thank
you.
mutual.
you.
But I'm very flattered and thank you and honored. So,
Well,
Thank
we're
you.
honored to have you here and introduce you to Dr. Kia's crew. All
Yeah.
over the world, people tune in. And I'll let you start, Dr. Kia, with
Yeah.
the
Go ahead.
questions.
Yeah, I was looking for the biography of him because he has done so much. So I'll just turn it over to Michael. Michael, us a little bit of information about who you are.
and I don't want to bore you too much because
Oh no, go into it, bore us.
a little bit of my history is in the video that we're going to watch shortly.
Okay.
Um, I'm a lot older than most everybody in this crew.
Mm.
And I literally awakened when I was 11 years old when John F. Kennedy was assassinated. The day after Kennedy was assassinated, it came onto the media or onto the news that we were not going to be able to be told for national security purposes what happened for 40 years when the Warren Report would be released.
Mm.
And as a naive 11-year-old, that just didn't ring true. You know, there are times in our lives when we're kind of pure and we kind of hear things. Well, I heard that message and I said to my dad, I was born in DC. And when I was about 5 years old, my dad got us the hell out of there. And when I asked my dad why, he said, because it's a cesspool. And he was born in Philadelphia and was raised in DC. And this was a long time ago. I was born in 53. So like I said, I'm a lot older than most people here. But it was very obvious to him what a cesspool it was. And he grew up in a fairly affluent family because his father, who was born in Italy, was he served the White House and the Capitol during those years. He had a massive, massive business. Well, anyway, so when I said this to my father the next day, or when the news said that we wouldn't be told what happened for 40 years, I said, Dad, don't they work for us? He said, yeah, they do. I said, so why can't we know what the hell's going on? And that's the way my dad and I spoke. So that was kind of an awakening that I filed away. 15 years later, I'm in college and I'm in an economics class and our professor is teaching about inflation. And I happened to be stoned that day, to be quite honest. I was a reefer smoker in college. I'm a child of that era. And if I went to class, I was going to be stoned because the classes bored the hell out of me. But this particular day, the professor was teaching us about inflation, and I was just stoned enough for it to resonate with me that inflation was counterfeiting. And I talk about this a little bit in my video and my book. And I raised my hand and the professor recognized me and I made the statement. He said, Mike, you're exactly correct. Well, shortly after that, I recognized or realized that the penalties for counterfeiting were more severe than the penalties for murder. This is true.
Wow.
So that's a little lopsided from my perspective. And I filed that away. I was very concerned about inflation. My dad was a relatively sophisticated financier, although that's not how he made his money. He was a graduate of Georgetown University. And I went home and spoke to him about inflation. And he basically said, look, Mike, they've been stealing our money forever. Now, that was that awareness was unheard of in those days. It's almost still unheard of.
Wow.
And I said, well, okay. And my dad was a real tough guy. He was an early bodybuilder. He was a great athlete. He was a very gentle giant. And I said, so how the hell do you handle it? He said, Mike, it's just the cost of doing business. Well, I immediately, the hackles on my head went up. I had hair in those days. And I said, man, I'm not handling it that way. Bullshit. I'm not letting people steal from me. And long story short, through my business career, I developed some strategies. And I became, after I sold off my last couple of businesses in about 2006, I started a futures trading business. And I was trading very, very high leveraged instruments. When I say high leverage, I'm talking about 10 to 1, 20 to 1, 30 to 1. I was trading $30, $40 million around the world, 24 hours a day. I was a nut. I mean, just absolutely obsessed. And I talk about this a little bit in the video and in my book because it gives you an idea of my background. I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I'm not a graduate of Wharton or I don't have a sophisticated financial education. What I've got is a lot of street experience. And literally, the guys that grew up in the ghetto, I was the guy that grew up in business, just street sense. That's where I cut my teeth. That's what I did. It was all about business for me. Although coming out of college, I was an artist. Literally made my living as an artist. And I kind of married those two things. So I took my creativity side and I put it into business and into trading and I developed systems, et cetera, et cetera. Well, frankly, through my futures trading, I took an ass whipping. I made a lot of money and then I got crushed. And it was because the Federal Reserve can change the rules at any time they want. It's like sitting down at a chess table with somebody, not knowing that your opponent can change the rules anytime they want. And that's literally what the financial game has been. The Rothschild cartel, the cabal, the Khazarian mafia, they have total control of all the financial markets, which is what we're taking back. And I realized I never planned on going on podcasts. I never planned on writing a book. I'm not a guy looking for any attention whatsoever. But I realized that this education of the system that there had been and the system that was coming was not out there, so people couldn't put the pieces together. And frankly, this transition seems to be very complex, and it needed to be broken down into its simplest terms. And I'll just give you a quick example. Okay. So what we hear in this community is there's the RV, the GCR, Dinar, Dong, Zim, Parity, Nassar, Jassara, QFS, XLM, XRP, Stellar. People are confused. Well, I wanted to put it in layman's terms so that people could understand it. And the place that I start is most people don't understand how simple the financial markets are. They're extremely simple. Okay. People think there are tons of instruments out there. They're not. There are only 3 financial instruments in the world. One is the currency with which we transact business with, in our case, the US dollar, which is a whole nother story about fraud. Canadian dollar, British pound, Swiss franc, et cetera. That's one instrument out of 3. The other are the debts that we owe or the debts that we own, period. And then there's the equities, whether it be stocks, bonds, or commodities, or real estate. Those are the 3 financial instruments. Everything else is a derivative thereof. So I wanted to put it in layman's terms so that we could take this fear, complexity, and confusion out of it so more people could get involved in benefiting from the purchase of these assets, because in my mind, there's going to be blood in the streets. These assets are so undervalued that you can take a small amount of money that you can afford to lose, risk it, and possibly make a fortune, which means now you have an opportunity to heal your community. The more people that we get involved in this global financial transition, the more communities we can heal, the faster. And in my opinion, this community needs a kick in the ass. We got too many people sitting around watching you guys as podcasters and not taking that information and do anything with it. It's fantastic to learn from all the podcasters, but you got to go do something with it. But too many people are sitting around on their ass doing nothing, in my opinion. So I'm trying to find a way to stimulate people to get off their butt, start learning about this, paying attention. And one way to do that is make it personal. Everybody wants more money.
Right. Everybody.
Right. So that's kind of the foundation of the video that we're getting ready to watch. It's about 18 minutes long. It's the foundation for the book. It's kind of a manual for this whole transition.
Okay. So I'm going to bring the video up for everybody to watch. Mother, do I need to? Most people have said you need to mute it. I'll see. I'm gonna mute it from my end. So most people say you have to mute it so that people can hear it better. But do you know, Mother, if that's the case or not with this video? No. Can you hear me, Mother? Can you hear me, Michael?
Yes.
Okay. So I can
hear you, Kia.
Okay, I'm going to mute on my end and play the video because I've heard that makes it a little more audible for the family. Family, let me know that you can hear this video in the chat. If you can hear, say yes, please.
In this short yet exciting presentation, I will reveal the greatest financial opportunity in history and how you can profit significantly. This incredible opportunity is a result of the global financial transition. The entire financial world is shifting from the old central bank confiscatory inflationary system to the new quantum financial system. With this new system, the Federal Reserve and the IRS have been taken over by the United States Treasury, and GSAR, which is the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act, has been established. The SAR will eliminate personal income taxes, forgive all mortgage debt, credit card debt, auto debt, and more, restore constitutional law, establish peace throughout the world, cease all military actions to create peace worldwide, release enormous sums of money for humanitarian purposes throughout the world, release thousands of hidden technologies, including free energy, anti-gravity, and sonic healing machines, restore financial privacy, and increase benefits to senior citizens. My name is Michael Avignon. I'm a veteran entrepreneur with 35 years of experience in developing emerging growth companies which pioneered new technologies. I've been a founder, principal financier, chairman, CEO, and/or president of 11 ventures focused on global markets, international finance, and international distribution in the public and private sectors. I've also turned $50,000 into $2.4 million in 3 days, trading gold, silver, and copper. And I've traded futures contracts in amounts up to $40 million. As an aside, not one of my investors has lost money in the last 30 years. I've recently released my new book, The Global Financial Transition. In it, I thoroughly explain the old central bank, fractional reserve, debt-based, fiat slave system, and why we must transition to the new quantum financial system. You will soon understand how this transition is creating the greatest financial opportunity in history and how you can benefit. Most people do not understand that their earning power, purchasing power, and wealth has been methodically stolen their entire lives. Simply put, the old system was designed to confiscate money through inflation, taxation, and usury, which is interest on nothing. Accordingly, the old system has to be completely scrubbed and revamped so the new system can take over. I understand that the complexity of this process has seemed daunting, but with what you will learn here and in my book, you will no longer be confused by the RV, GCR, QFS, or Stellar Initiative and how all these pieces fit together. You will become the expert. I will simplify it all and put it in layman's terms so anyone can understand it. Although the economy may seem dark, with the global financial transition, your future is extremely bright. So let's get started. Over the last 4 years, I have researched every aspect of global geopolitics and global geoeconomics, which is how I uncovered the greatest financial opportunity in history, the global financial transition, which is the largest transfer of wealth in history. This has been purposely hidden from the public. You will soon understand why. To thoroughly understand this opportunity, I conducted a historical study of the banking system that spanned the last 2,500 years, and I spent the last 4 years researching all the economic and political events of the last 60 years. From this extensive research, I concluded that we are at the precipice of the global financial transition, which has created the greatest financial opportunity in history. Subsequently, I figured out how to benefit, and now in my new book, The Global Financial Transition, I'm teaching others how to benefit as well. Critical to understanding geopolitics and geoeconomics is understanding the foundation of our financial system and being able to distinguish between real money, gold, silver, etc., and fiat, or fake money, which are the inflationary systems. I developed this distinction in a university economics class. On that fateful day, our professor was lecturing on inflation, during which I realized inflation is nothing more than counterfeiting, the creation of fake money. I raised my hand, the professor recognized me, and I blurted out, "Professor, it sounds to me like inflation is counterfeiting." He responded, "Mike, you're exactly correct. What is misunderstood most about inflation is that the central bankers who control the money supply are always the only winners of inflation, and they win big while everyone else loses. The central bankers create inflation, and they profit in two ways. They charge interest on the money they create out of thin air. This is called usury. And they issue these zero-cost dollars to their cronies or corporations and banks they own, who in turn exchange these worthless, counterfeited, zero-cost dollars for valuable assets such as stocks, bonds, and commodities. So why am I discussing inflation in the introduction to the greatest financial opportunity in history? Inflation is the strategy that the central bankers and their minions utilize to steal the labor and assets from 99% of the world's population. And because of the enormity of this theft through inflation by the central bankers, the world is on the precipice of a financial collapse that will make the Great Depression seem like a bedtime story. This is why there is such an enormous opportunity. The following was a quote from the founder of the Rothschild cartel, which is a little regard the Rothschilds have for us of the world our laws, and how powerful he saw money to be. This is who created the modern day central banking, confiscatory, inflationary schemes. I care not what puppet is placed upon the throne of England to rule the empire in which the sun never sets. The man who controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the British money supply. So let's dig a little deeper into this inflationary scheme that is such an enigma to most. Below, the Dow chart compared to the US dollar chart demonstrates the devastation of inflation perfectly. This slide confirms these findings over an approximate 100-year period. This is why the Dow has done so well over the last 100 years. The top chart is of the Dow, and the bottom chart is of the US dollar adjusted for inflation. As you see, there is an exact inverse correlation. As the Dow has increased, the dollar has declined approximately 98%. Why? The Dow's rise is in large part due to inflation. Let that sink in. When the Fed is printing money, the value of the dollar is reduced, and those who receive the newly printed US dollars exchange them for something that has real value, so they buy equities, bonds, and commodities. As you saw in the above charts, inflation, newly printed money, worth less money, is the primary reason the Dow and other stock indexes have risen. Simply put, owning a portion of a company or a stock is more attractive and prudent than owning the dollar, a currency that is deteriorating in value. So what is the result? Inflation confiscates the wealth of the citizens and therefore damages the economy, which significantly diminishes the opportunities for its citizens. No matter who you are negatively impacted because your dollar becomes worth less. Unless, of course, you are a central banker and you get to print money, charge us interest, and then put the interest you didn't really earn to work elsewhere. The next slides are of the US dollar from 1912 to present. What has happened to its purchasing power? US dollar purchasing power as of 1912 was worth $1. This is a picture of the dollar today. This is the value of the dollar today. The red represents how much the central bankers have stolen. The little bit of the dollar that is left today on the bottom right, which is the true value of your dollar. And as you see, you have been robbed. Where did the dollar go? Through inflation, it went to the Fed and the Fed's cronies, other companies they own. Remember, the Fed is a private bank and their business is printing our money and charging us interest on it. The more they print, the more interest they receive, and the less valuable the dollar becomes. This is why everything of value has increased in price and the dollar has decreased in value since 1912. We don't get any money, but we pay interest on it. What a deal, huh? This is critical to understand because it is the reason we must move to the new system, the quantum financial system. Woodrow Wilson was the president of the Rothschild cartel blackmailed to sign the contract to implement the third and the current Federal Reserve. He explained what has happened to our financial system best in 1912 when he said, "I am a most unhappy man. I have unwittingly ruined my country. A great industrial nation is now controlled by its system of credit. We are no longer a government by free opinion, no longer a government by conviction and the vote of the majority, but a government by the opinion and duress of a small group of dominant men." And Alan Greenspan, who was one of the most revered and longest reigning chairmen of the Federal Reserve, further explained what happens when a financial system is not based on real assets such as gold. In the absence of the gold standard, there is no way to protect savings from confiscation through inflation. There is no safe store of value. The following chart summarizes the truth about our financial system by comparing the returns in the stock markets to gold from 1953 to 2023, in which gold outpaced the Dow 4 times. Let that sink in. Investment returns from 1953 to 2003. The Dow moved up 128 times. Gold moved up 521 times. Previous charts graphically illustrate what happens with an inflationary system. At some point, inflation becomes hyperinflation, and then no amount of money can buy anything, and abject poverty ensues. Just in the last few decades, we have seen this in Zimbabwe, Iraq, Afghanistan, Indonesia, Vietnam, and most recently in Venezuela. Also notice that these are the richest countries in the world in natural resources. Coincidence? Not at all. These economic collapses were all manufactured by the central bankers to steal their natural resources. And now we in the US are on the verge of hyperinflation also. In March of 2021, the Federal Reserve's balance sheet was at $4 trillion. Their balance sheet grows by the amount they inflate the economy. 8 months later, it exceeded $8 trillion. And today, it is exponentially higher. Inflation has exploded since 2021. No economy in the world can withstand this amount of inflation without a total collapse. And that is the objective of central bankers. And this is why there is such an enormous opportunity. What is happening in the US is no different than what happened in Zimbabwe, Iraq, Afghanistan, Indonesia, Vietnam, or Venezuela. Once this economic destruction is created by the central bankers, they swoop in and buy or steal all of the country's assets for pennies on the dollar. While this may be unconscionable, the central bankers have been doing this all over the world for centuries. After they finish destroying these economies and stealing their assets through lending, usury, and inflation, they offer the countries the same solution all over again. It is a vicious cycle. They create the problem, wait for the people to react, and then offer the solution. It's called Hegelian dialectic. Thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, or problem, reaction, and solution. It is the most effective strategy for manipulating people, and it works time and time again, and the people never even notice. This has been occurring in the US for many decades as the central bankers create boom and bust economic cycles by inflating the money supplies and manipulating interest rates. Most people think interest rates are controlled by market forces. They are not. They are controlled by the central bankers for their own nefarious purposes, profits by theft. These periods of boom and bust cycles are one of the central bankers' main strategies. Since the central bankers control the money supply and interest rates, they know what is next for the economy and are always one step ahead of the rest of us. This is the epitome of insider trading. As they drive interest rates down, the rest of us buy stocks, bonds, commodities, which drive the markets higher. Since the central bankers know where the top of the markets will be, because they control the interest rates, they wait for the top of the market and then sell their overinflated stocks, bonds, and commodities to the rest of us. Then they drive the markets down by raising interest rates. This forces the rest of us to sell while the central bankers wait for the bottom of the markets to buy assets, which are the stocks, bonds, and commodities at market lows, and then they start the cycle all over again. The solution. During the mid to late 1700s, the nefarious bankers known as the Rothschilds were expanding their central banking empire and gained significant momentum throughout Europe. Their plan of usury, which is charging interest on fiat or fake money, and inflation was designed to confiscate all assets and businesses worldwide. To counter this evil strategy, a benevolent group of super wealthy sovereign families of Asia known as the Dragon families formed. This group pooled their assets into a series of complex off-ledger private banking trusts, collectively known today as the global collateral accounts. These sovereign families assumed the responsibility of the keepers of humanity's wealth, including its anonymity, with plans to eventually restore the world's prosperity. Fast forward to post-World War II at the Bretton Woods Conference in New Hampshire, which occurred in 1944, where the benevolent and malevolent sides agreed to a truce to reset the world's financial system. As a result, the benevolent, or the keepers, agreed to place a portion of the global collateral accounts gold into central banking vaults worldwide to back the new financial system. This gold was on lease to all good-standing sovereign nations for a 50-year period with a 5-year transition ending on September the 11th, 2001. As the next few decades passed, the Rothschild cartel, or the cabal, continued their world domination, evil agenda, and infiltrated each nation's central and public banking sector, executive government, leadership, and judiciary. They were able to keep their activities hidden from the public because they had purchased and in turn had total control of all print, radio, TV, and digital media outlets. In response, the keepers accelerated their plan, which includes backing all world currencies with gold or real assets and eliminating the Rothschild cartel. Over several decades, a brilliant plan was developed and activated to ensure all governments of the world would willingly participate in a new, more secure financial system. As the physical end drew near for the Rothschild cartel, they became more and more desperate. And on September the 11th, 2001, at 8 a.m., on the exact day and time the gold was to be returned to the keepers, the cabal conducted an unthinkable operation in New York City. This was followed by other pre-planned wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, North Africa, the Middle East, and Europe. At this point, the alliance had had it. Enough was enough. This strengthened the alliance's resolve to put an end to the control by the Rothschild cartel. Subsequently, this cartel is now on its last leg, and here we are today, with the Dragon families and the alliance serving humanity to implement a new financial system, the quantum financial system, that permanently frees humanity from debt, usury, and financial enslavement. This benevolent group has completely drained the cabal swamp of all its power. Accordingly, we are now on the brink of this transition to rehydrate the world with real money, which brings us to the executive summary. With the Alliance and Dragon family strategy, the old corrupt, swift central bank, fractional reserve, debt-based fiat slave system has been dismantled, and the new asset-backed quantum financial system is being implemented worldwide. This will put an end to the theft of our money and assets through taxation and inflation by the Rothschild cartel. No more central banking control of our money. It's our money, and we are now finally in control. This transition has begun. Transactions are beginning at the highest levels in Hong Kong, Philippines, Zurich, Europe, Reno, and Miami, and the largest sellers with trillions and quadrillions of dollars of assets and bonds who will hydrate the world are in process. There is not much time left to participate in these transactions. Time is of the essence, which brings us to the conclusion. As I have demonstrated, the world's financial system has been decimated and the world has been robbed of its assets by a small group of criminals through their central banking inflationary scheme. An inflationary central banking scheme is designed to last approximately 100 years, and the existing Federal Reserve central bank scheme is now 110 years old. It's about 10 years past its time to fail. Anytime a rubber band is stretched too far, it must snap back or break. The central bank system is the rubber band that is stretched way too far. As Newton's law states, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Whenever you have markets that are this out of sync with reality, the correction must be just as drastic. This is the fundamental reason why the returns from the global financial transition will be so large. This is basic universal law. At some point, this must be corrected. Time is now. This is the epitome of a buy low, sell high opportunity. You can literally risk a small amount of money that you can afford to lose, and there's a high likelihood of making unimaginable gains. This is the perfect opportunity. This transition provides a low risk, potentially high return investment, the kind of investment that never comes along, but we always hope for and never see. Well, you are seeing it. Do you recognize it? If you are interested in the greatest financial opportunity in history, I have written The Global Financial Transition just for you. Good luck, and thanks for watching.
Wow, what an amazing presentation. That was awesome, Michael. I mean, you covered about what, 150, 200 years worth of history.
Yeah, at least.
Yes. You went from the deception and where it all started to the deception, how they were able to keep this information from us. You even talked about Woodrow Wilson, how he, I guess, took us off the gold standard and he felt like he had deceived us. And I mean, you brought us all the way up to the implementation of Jassara, Nassara, the RV, all of that. Michael, are there any words, that you want to say about that video before I ask you some questions?
No, you go ahead. Ask me whatever questions you want. Actually, my foundation started with a personal experience that I had about 20 years ago when I was going to, I won't say go off the grid, but I was taking a lot of my money out of the banks. I was very aware of the theft, as I've mentioned, by the cartels. And I decided to take a lot of money out of the bank and basically went to the bank, and I talk about this in my book a little bit, and they told me I had to report it to the IRS. I'm an A-type personality, very hard driving entrepreneur, and not easily manipulated by people. And even if they try, I'm going to resist. I'm a contrarian. I've never been one to take a lot of crap from anybody. I don't care who they are. But I did the research and I found out they were right. And it stimulated me to go back literally all the way to Etruscan times, Sumerian times, Babylonian times, and study the entire history of the money systems, which the money systems today are based on Babylonian black magic, which is basically satanic ritual. So, and that's why the Luciferians are in control and they practice satanic rituals. And that's I don't even like the word, but that's what's been controlling the world. And they use the financial systems to take over total control of every major industry in the world. And that's why it's really critical, in my mind, mission critical, that more people get involved so that we make sure that we take back the financial system, because that's what we're going to need to do to take back the other industries, the other organizations, the other institutions, so that we can free ourselves. I believe over the next 50, maybe 100 years, money is going to become very unimportant. Most people think and have been brainwashed to believe that we live in a world of scarcity, and we don't at all. The omniverse that we live in, including all the other celestials, it's abundant. There's more here for all of us than we could ever utilize or enjoy, but we've been so dumbed down and so brainwashed to think that there's not enough, and that's just not true. And so in this financial world, and it's why we don't really need, once we learn that lesson of abundance, we don't really need money, because there's plenty for everybody. But in this world, to make the transition, we've got to take that back so that we can take back the rest, so that we can ascend and get past these, what we think are needs of scarcity. So go ahead. The floor is yours. Ask me whatever you want.
How were they able? Ooh, that's loud. How were they able to deceive us to think that there's scarcity? What happened?
Well, first of all, they use fear. They have several mechanisms, and I'll get into that in a minute. But let me give you some examples of how they deceived us. So we think of currencies: Swiss franc, the British pound, Japanese yen, Canadian dollar, and then we hear the U.S. dollar, which we think we have in our pockets. The U.S. dollar is not a currency. Wow, that's kind of weird, huh? Got all these other currencies, but the U.S. dollar is actually an index. It's the U.S. dollar measured against a basket of 6 other currencies: Japanese yen, British pound, Swiss franc, Canadian dollar, Australian dollar, and I left one out, and it doesn't really matter, but there's 6 measured against the U.S. dollar. And the reason that they created the U.S. dollar index is because if you've got 6 or 7 indexes going, or 6 and 7 currencies going down at the same time, the destruction of the main one, which is the U.S. dollar, doesn't look nearly as bad, because it's being measured against other terrible ones. It's really simple. They hid the real value of the U.S. dollar. That's why nobody really realizes that the value of the U.S. dollar is literally about 1/10 of 1% of what it was when it was originally created 100 years ago, when Woodrow Wilson signed the contract for the Third Federal Reserve. So through these years, all that money has been stolen from us, but we don't know it because people don't know where to look. So that's one of the deceptions. There's another deception out there, and there are a lot of these examples. I'll give you 4 of them. Okay. Another is CPI, which stands for Consumer Price Index. It's basically the measure of change in consumer prices. What the hell does that mean? Well, they give us what they call the Consumer Price Index, which is supposedly a measure of inflation. Well, what they don't tell you is they leave out energy and food. I don't know about you ladies in the audience, But energy and food's kind of a real expense. I mean, we kind of use heat and air conditioning and fuel in our cars and fuel our bodies every day. So they hide primary portions of what make up the consumer price index to keep us in the dark. The other thing is if I took 100 people of your audience and I said, what is inflation? I guarantee you 99 of them would say it's the increase in prices. That's not true. Inflation is not the increase in prices. Inflation is the increase in the money supply. It's like having a pizza. Because you slice a pizza in half and you compare that to the same size pizza that's sliced 100 times, is there any more pizza? Of course not. And each slice is worth less. It's the same thing with the money supply. Every time they inflate the money supply, it deteriorates the value of the existing dollars. So people think that prices are going up. No, they're not. Your money's being stolen from you. The value of your money's being stolen from you. That's what I showed in the chart of the value of the US dollar. So that's another major deception. We talk about taxation. Well, there's several parts of taxation. First of all, it was never a ratified law. And if people really dig into it, taxation, personal income taxation is really based on foreign commerce. People don't participate in foreign commerce, but people think they got to pay taxes. Right. So that's a deception, which is not true, but let's just assume it is true. So if we're going to pay personal income taxes, doesn't it make sense that money is used in our country for services? I guarantee you that 99% of your audience, if I asked you what your biggest expense was, monthly, quarterly, annual expense, it would be taxes. And I bet that if I said, so forget about taxes for a moment, do you know where all your money goes every month? Most people would say yes. Okay. In other words, they spend so much money on gas, spend so much money on rent or mortgage, spend so much money on fuel, they put their kids through college. They kind of have it may not be exact, but they kind of have an idea of what they're spending their money on. But their biggest expense, which is their tax bill, not a clue. Does that make sense? Okay. Well, not only don't they have a clue, when you ask them where that money goes, they say to provide us services in this country. Bullshit. Not one penny of any dollar ever spent for personal income taxes has ever gone to any benefit in the U.S. Wow. 100% of those dollars went to the IRS and they were immediately shipped to the Crown Corporation. That's not the royal family, although the royal family owned part of the Crown Corporation. That money was then sent to the Vatican and laundered. It was sent to their banks, which are all the central banks, part of the Rothschild scheme. Mm-hmm. And that's a whole nother story that I won't get into. And then the money, 67% of it was paid to the owners of the Crown Corporation. 23% was paid to the owners of the Federal Reserve. 5% was paid as hush money to the IRS agents, and 5% was paid to Congress. And then all that money, once it was paid to those people, they replicated it, which means they inflated it. They turned it around, they sent it back to the U.S., and it was loaned back to us. So we paid our tax bill, and then we got to pay taxes on the money that we didn't need to borrow to begin with. That's how convoluted the entire system is. Now, the only thing I've talked about so far is currency, really, our money. Stock market, commodity market, metals market, they're all hypothecated and they're just as corrupt. Mm-hmm. When you go out and buy a stock, you've bought a stock that somebody else has already purchased. They just keep replicating. They inflate all the stocks as well, and they just sell them over and over and over and over again. That's why all these markets have to be taken down, and that's why there's such an opportunity in Stellar, which is a whole nother story. Okay, all those assets have been confiscated, and that whole world is being cleaned up. So right now. Okay, So that's kind of some of how they've deceived us. There are a lot of other ways too. I could get into the paper products they've initiated, how they've suppressed the prices of metals, and I could go on and on and on. I could bore the hell out of you with these stories. But suffice it to say, you guys know Prime Minister. Prime Minister's got a great saying, and I won't be quite as crude as Prime is when he says it, but he basically says every single person on the planet's been screwed. The positions are just different. So, and it's a great analogy.
Absolutely. So you say we've been deceived, but then a transition is occurring and we can assist in that transition. How can we do that?
By getting involved.
Okay.
First of all, and this is my personal opinion from being an observer, I'm not a podcaster. I'm not a celebrity. I'm really one of the audience.
Okay.
That I just happen to be a hard driving entrepreneur with my own opinions and some experience. And what I see, and this is not to criticize anybody, it's really to put a fire under your ass.
Okay.
I see people sitting around watching you guys provide great information. In other words, you guys, the podcaster, you guys, the intel providers, are really doing more than your share. And one of the reasons I avoided getting involved like this is because you guys work your ass off. And I work hard, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to work that hard all the time like you guys do. And I do research and I do read. I'm a voracious reader. But what I've noticed is the audience, they think they're doing something by watching you guys. It's great to be informed, but if you don't do something with information, it has no value. And that's what I see more than anything. So from my perspective, people that have a little bit of money, buy these assets, do your own research, learn, buy my book, figure out what the hell do you do. But if you're just dead ass broke and you've convinced yourself that you're poor, take this information, buy the book, take the information, talk to your neighbor, talk to your family, talk to the guy down the street. And people are not talking about it because they're worried about pissing people off. Mm-hmm. Guys, that's lazy and it's irresponsible, in my opinion. You've got military people out there fighting a war for you. They're losing their lives and they're losing their limbs, and you're afraid to create a conflict with a goddamn neighbor? Guys, I'm sorry. Do your job, do your part. Get out, do something, learn about this stuff, start talking. We've got to increase the size of this community. Another thing that I'm seeing is, Key, and this is not about you because you're the black person on this panel.
Okay.
The vast majority of the people in this movement are white bread. I'm white bread. Susan is. We've got to expand to the blacks and the Hispanics and the Muslims and the Hindus and the Jews, and the list goes on and on. We got to open our arms like Jesus taught instead of closing our arms and pointing our fingers at people for differences.
Yeah.
Trump and John F. Kennedy both taught and teach where we go one, we go all.
Absolutely.
Where we go one and where we go all leaves no one out. That was Jesus's lesson. Embrace everybody. Quit focusing on differences, start focusing on similarities. Get out there and bring people into this movement. I don't care how you do it. Get off that damn couch, though. I'm done with my tirade.
Well, you had mentioned before when we talked offline that the system has been very successful at dividing us by races, ethnicities, political views. They've been very good at it. And now we have to do the work to make sure we mend those breaches.
Absolutely. They've used divide and conquer, which is a major strategy, but they use brainwashing through all the media, through all the entertainment, through all the sports. Then they bribe, and if that doesn't work, bribe the officials, bribe the politicians, bribe the corporate leaders. If that doesn't work, then they blackmail. And they blackmail primarily using sexual proclivity, whether it's pedophilia or homosexuality or just good old heterosexuality. But they've always got people in compromised positions. So I go back to divide and conquer because that's a major irritant to me. A great example of divide and conquer is as we grew up, we were taught you don't talk about politics, you don't talk about religion, and you don't talk about money in your home.
Right.
And we bought that bullshit.
We did.
Excuse my language, guys, but somebody's got to get a little bit harsh about this stuff and start shoving it down your throat. We bought it. And consequently, we lost the ability to have a respectful conversation with people who disagree with us. We didn't have conversations, and subsequently, we couldn't learn from each other. If we don't converse about subjects that are controversial, how do we learn? You know, Prime Minister's got another great saying that I think exactly the same way, but he says, we can all be right. In other words, religions create absolute division because everybody is so hell-bent, faith-based that they have to be right. Well, that means everybody else to be wrong. We've got to stop being right and start being inclusive.
Wow.
And there's a big, big difference. You know, we've got to start having these conversations. Stop being worried about if you offend somebody. It's not your responsibility if they get offended. People love to be offended today. Oh my God, they love it. I got offended.
Michael, I know. I was at a dealership yesterday getting my car tuned up and talking with Kia and some others. And this girl overheard me and she was making the eyes at me. And I just thought, I don't care. She moved because I guess I made her uncomfortable. But I'm a truth seeker, and that's what I speak is truth. And she apparently didn't vibrate to my level or frequency, so she left. And I just stared right back at her because I'm not going to put myself down the platform just to make somebody else feel good. I'm tired of it. I've been done for really a couple decades. So
I'm with you. And one of the things that I learned is, while I think it's my responsibility to be kind to the kind and the unkind alike, it's not my responsibility for somebody else feels. And there's nothing I can do about that. I have no control over what somebody else chooses to feel. So like you said, Susan, all I can do is speak the truth that I see. And I welcome people proving me wrong, because when somebody proves me wrong, that means I learned something. But you better bring your A game about these subjects.
That's it. That's how I feel too. Dr. Kia, did any of the audience have questions for Michael?
Somebody had asked the name of the book, and it's
the Global Financial Transition. It's listed on PPN under shop. It's the first product. And at the end of the video, it's got all the link that you need.
At the end of the video we just played?
Yes.
Okay.
It's at the bottom of the end of the video.
Yeah, I ordered the book. I'm so excited to read it. You have so much information inside you from all your years of working in business. And what I love about what you say is I've had many failures and successes, but I've learned a lot from my failures. A lot of people are afraid to fail. And if they fail, we're afraid to admit it. So can you speak to how, we might fail at what we need to do to bring about this global transition, but it's okay to fail?
It's okay to fail. What's not okay is not preparing. In other words, one of the things that I hear in the community all the time is, I give you a couple of examples. All you have to do is write a one-page summary or a one-paragraph summary of your projects, and that's it. Guys and gals, that's nonsense. I don't care who's saying it. I don't care who's told them that. I don't believe they're lying. They just don't know what the hell they're talking about. Because no matter what you're writing, when do you write the summary? You write the summary after you did all the research and all the work. So with a business plan, which a humanitarian project is no different than a business plan, you got to do enough research. You're going to write 50 to 100 pages. After you've done that, you write the summary. So when people say all you do is write the summary, you haven't done any work. You can't be successful like that. And then people say, okay, you're going to have 30, 60, or 90 days after we get the release to do that work. What the hell are you waiting for? Why aren't you preparing? That's what this time is about.
Right.
Again, get off your ass.
Mm.
Just stop finding excuses for not doing the work. So in business, in the entrepreneurial world, 85% of all businesses that start fail the first year. At the end of 3 years, there's 3% left. That's the failure rate. The vast majority of that failure rate is because of lack of preparation. What's going to happen when we get through this? First of all, this is not going to be an event. People are waiting for this big event. It's not going to be an event. In my mind, and I'm involved in the private transactions and the public transaction. I've got probably 20 something portfolios in the public transactions with my partner. They can't do all this at once. All this can't happen at once. It's like changing anything. It's like having a baby. You got to get pregnant. You got to go through the process. Then you got to have the baby. Then you got to raise the child. It doesn't happen all at once. When you're converting industry, converting country, converting an entire financials, it's not going to happen all at once. And I'm not trying to discourage anybody. It's just going to be a series of events that makes up the entire process. No industry, people think all of a sudden we're going to have free energy. That's interesting. So we've got this massive energy industry based on in-ground assets right now. Do you really think all of a sudden we're going to have free energy? I mean, it's just going to destroy those millions of jobs out there and all those businesses, and all of a sudden, no, it's going to be a transition period. And it's not going to happen in every sector all at once anyway, even if it could. So everything that's going to change, it's like what we're going through in this community. Pieces of information are coming out every day. People are taking the time, or we're being forced to take the time to learn this stuff. It's a process. Everything's a process. And so are we going to get some money released at some point in time in the near future? I think so. But nobody knows. I don't give a damn who says it. They don't know. And I'm in the middle of it. This is what I do every day. I talk to people at the highest levels, and a lot of times they tell me things they don't know what they're talking about. They've been told that, but it doesn't make any sense. It's like you guys are starting to, I'm sorry, Kia, go ahead.
No. I'll wait.
What I was going to say is you guys are starting to get information about the EBS in Florida. So I want to just would use that as an example. Okay. But the information that we've gotten about the EBS in Florida, if I'm not mistaken, is it's getting ready or starting to be tested. It doesn't mean it's being implemented. It means it's being tested. Right? But now everybody says EBS is here now. No, I don't buy it. Okay. And they're not going to break out the EBS system in parts. I don't believe. It's not going to be in Florida and then 2 weeks later, a week later in Washington. It's not going to roll out like that. I believe when the EBS is released, it's going to happen all at once because they've got to educate at least country by country. Okay. You can't, or they're going to create more division, which is the last thing that we need. We need to fire hose people, I think, with information, and the EBS, I believe, is a great tool to do so. So I'm not all excited about the EBS being released tomorrow or in 3 days. I'm excited that they're starting the process, even if it's only tested. Well, it's the same thing with the RVGCR. All this information that's coming out of Iraq that everybody's talking about. How do we know that the Khazarian mafia doesn't own those newspapers and those are not propaganda machines? We don't know that. I don't speak Arabic. I don't know those people. I know what they're saying, and I know there's some people that say they have people on the ground. That's great, but it's been the same drip for a year now coming out of Iraq. Tomorrow. And then you've got people out there talking about, well, Iraq could go by themselves. That's a lot of crap. Yeah. This is a world worldwide effort. And it
Global.
needs to be very coordinated and very controlled, or it's going to be another mess. And I just don't believe the Alliance / the Dragon families are going to let Iraq go separately from the RVGCR, from the Vietnamese Dong, from the Venezuelan Bull. I just don't believe it. I could be dead wrong, but I just try to use some discernment to think through these processes just from an operational and common sense perspective. Bottom line is, I think there's a lot people can do. Get involved, get off the couch, start talking, quit buying all this nonsense about it's your responsibility if somebody gets offended, and quit worrying about if you offend somebody. Who the hell cares? We're at war, guys. We're trying to recapture the world. Do you really care if you ruffle somebody's feathers? Are you that weak? If you're that weak, get the hell out of the way. Let the rest of us go do our job. But literally get out of the way. Do something or move over. There are three kinds of people: leaders, followers, and those that should just get the hell out of the way. Some will, some won't, so what? And I know nobody talks like this, and I'm not trying to be harsh, but we're at war, guys. And this is for our lives, our prosperity, our sovereignty, and that of generations, and privacy. Okay, you can ask a question.
I wanted you to get it all out, because a lot of us have become so pacified. We're so used to relying on the government and relying on what somebody else says, and relying on our idols in terms of our athletes and entertainers to tell us what to do, if to do anything, and how to do it. So we needed that special or that extra jolt that you just gave us. Thank you.
And they're all Satanists. Anybody that has a fan group is part of the Khazarian mafia. Guys, think about that. And here's another harsh little lesson. So my guess is the vast majority of the audience that have the courage or the guts or the stupidity to listen to me, I bet if I asked them, if you really believe that COVID / the jab, or the illness / the jab, was there to make people sick and kill off the population, the vast majority would say, yeah, they'd probably agree. And then the next question comes up. So you agree that the pharma and the docs have been working against you, yet I bet the vast majority of you are taking medications. That's like giving your gold and silver to the guy trusting the guy that just robbed your house with gold and silver. Guys, that makes no sense. How many people in the audience go to fast food joints? Fast food joints food have human DNA in them, because that's where they send all the bodies that have been killed and all the fetuses that have been aborted. And how many people that go shopping shop on the outer aisles where the live food is, rather than the center aisles where the boxes, bags, and cans are? Just because a company puts something they call food in a box, bag, or a can doesn't make it so. It's not biologically compatible. Guys, the number one reason we are so sick and so fat is because of food, what you're consuming. Every single consumable product in the world, whether it's food, whether it's skincare products, whether it's cleaning products, whether it's pharmaceuticals, whether it's over-the-counters, they are delivery systems for toxins that make you sick and take your life away. Wow. Every single thing. Jaws, the movie out of the 70s, it was created to scare people off the beaches, out of vitamin D, which is critical to our health. Wow. And then, so they make you scared to death of the water, you stay out of the sun, you don't take vitamin D, then guess what you do when you go back on the beach? You put skincare lotions on, which are the most toxic. You don't need skincare. You need vitamin D. But nobody's thinking. And so the Khazarian mafia has shoved all this stuff down your throat and up your butt, and you've bought the whole story. and you keep doing the same thing and you say you're awakened. Guys, how are you going to wake anybody else if you're not awakened yourself? And you can't be partially awake. Either you're awake or you're not. Okay, I'm done with that rant.
Is there anything you want to say, Mother?
No, I mean,
That
it's
was
true.
awesome.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I think that's why God or the Creator is allowing for a lot of these major corporations to go out. I think that we have to learn how to depend on nature and each other. So all these systems are going to be done away with so that we can relearn how to live and how to eat and how to behave.
Absolutely. That's why I say lead, follow, or just get the hell out of the way. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Back to the
Well,
financial. Oh, go ahead, Mother. Go ahead.
I would just suggest that people buy Michael's book so that they could have an understanding of, the different currencies and the different financial system and where we're headed. So
Yeah, I'm
that
glad.
would
Thank you,
Yeah.
Susan.
it would do them a very good service. I'm getting it myself, the book.
I ordered it, Michael, but it takes a couple of days. But I did order. I wanted to read it before we had our interview, but it takes a couple of days.
If something happens, you don't get it, just call me. I'll get it handled for you. There have been some bumps. I was on one this morning, so you should have it within at least a couple of days. But if you don't, just call me. I'll get it handled.
Yeah, I'm not worried. Everything takes time, and then I know what supply chain issues and all that. And I just ordered it like yesterday, so
Okay, cool.
I'm just excited.
Yeah, let me say this to the audience about the book.
Okay.
Guys, while I know financial matters are foreign to most people, that's not what this book is. It's 140 pages. It's a relatively easy read. I wrote it in layman's terms, and I explained all these parts. I tried to break everything down into basically its simplest terms so that you can understand it. And whatever you don't understand, just read it again. It'll set you up for an opportunity that you will never, ever, ever have again. Don't miss this opportunity.
Is this one place we can get it from? American Wholesale?
Yes, yes, you can.
Digital ebook, The Global Financial Transition by Michael Avignon. It's very reasonable. You'll know it's his book because you'll see the hourglass here. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. People are wondering in the comment section, Michael, what do you think about the dinar? Since you mentioned currencies, they want to know, what do you think about it? Is it going to go? Is it real? Do you have currencies?
Guys, if I told you how much currency and bonds I had, I'd blow your mind. I have a little bit of an unusual story that I really can't share because I'm under NDAs. Okay. But yes, I'm a risk taker, guys. I have made a lot of money. I've lost a lot of money in transactions. I'm very comfortable with risk, and I'm very comfortable with the potential that you take a loss. And that's why in this I say you can invest an amount of money that you can afford to lose, and you can still make an incredible return. I believe, yes, I believe in the currencies. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not going to give you financial advice. But more important than that is we're moving into a world of privacy, sovereignty, and self-responsibility, self-reliability. So the thing that I preach, and I'm not a preacher, and the thing that everybody in this community that is knowledgeable says, DYOR, do your own research. So what I've done in the book is I've given you the tools that you need and other teachers out here about specific things where you can go learn and do your own research and figure out what's right for you. This transition, which includes the dinar, and I'm not going to say anything else more about the dinar, is very real for all the reasons that I mentioned in the video. Okay. There's kind of a rule when it comes to investing. The greatest returns are made when there's blood in the streets. That means in the worst conditions. Now, we in this country right now, we're not at the worst conditions by any stretch of the imagination, but there are currencies around the world that are. What I focused on is buying exotics that are so undervalued that they can't go down. There's just nowhere for them to go. And I'll give you an example. So if I go out and I buy Vietnamese dong today, and guys, don't take this as a financial advice and don't follow me. Do your own research, because there are a lot of instruments to buy and you want to balance your portfolio. And I talk about this in the book as well. Don't load up on one thing. Balance your portfolio, diversify your risk. But I'm going to use dong as an example. So I go out and buy dong, which I personally think is very undervalued. Tomorrow, if I need that, let's just say I'm willing to put $200 into it. And tomorrow I need $150 of that. I can go back and sell that to the same people I bought it from and maybe lose 4 or 5%. That's one hell of a risk aversion. That's not even a risk because it's so undervalued. It's the likelihood of it going down is very, very low. Silver, another one. Silver and gold, gold's moved up some. Silver's been in a very, very low trading range for probably a decade now. Where's it going to go? It's at 25 bucks. Where's it going to go to 10? If it goes to 10, it's going to bounce so hard it's going to surpass the 25. And it's been, because it's a thin market, which means there's not a lot of trading that goes on in silver, it's been very suppressed. The Khazarian mafia has been, they very easily suppressed it through what are called paper instruments. So there are a lot of places that you can put money, that you can do very well with. Silver and gold are safe havens that you're not going to get the returns out of, in my opinion, that you're going to get from what I call exotics. But I am 100, guys, I'm not 90%, I'm not 50%, I'm not 95% invested in what I'm talking about. And I don't sell any instruments, so I don't have anything to gain except you guys learning from my book. I am 100% invested in what I'm talking about. Not 99.9%, literally 100%. I put 100% of my money into this. Now, astute investors could say and will say, you're stupid for doing that. No, I'm not. I know what I'm doing. Those people, those of us who do very, very well in business and investments and trading, we focus, we know what we're doing. Now, if I'm wrong, we're screwed. Period.
Oh, sorry, Michael, that was funny.
And the reason
I
is
God, you're right.
yeah, but here's why. Because if I'm wrong, we're not going to get through this global financial transition. We're going to be stuck in this old fiat system that the criminals, the cabal, the Satanists, the Luciferians control. So what the hell does it matter to me if I put all my money into this and I fail? Because I failed anyway. Because we're not going to get through the transition. So I have a very different perspective. Now, what I would say to most people that have some money is put the vast majority of it, get the hell out of the banks, get the hell out of the markets, put the vast majority of your money into gold and silver, put it in your safe at home. You control it, it's yours, nobody else, and you're not taking any risk. And then if you want to take a little bit of it, do the stuff that I'm talking about. But get the book, learn about this stuff, understand some basics of investing, understand how do you do your own research, find these other people like Whiplash and Emily and Crypto Brownie, and go study their work too. It's not a lot of work, guys, but you got to put the work in.
Yeah, I'm glad you keep talking about studying and doing your own research and also reading the book, because the scripture says, study to show yourself approved unto God. Study to show yourself approved. You know, you have to affirm and confirm the research on your own by doing the work. And you never want to invest into something that you have not fully understood. At least that's what my son, he studied economics in college, he has told me. You study first and then you invest.
Absolutely. And most people want mommy, daddy, the bankers, the brokers, the wealth managers to take care of them. Let me tell you, the bankers, the brokers, the wealth managers, the investment bankers, they don't care about you. They never have, they never will. They care about themselves and the fees that they're going to get, and to hell with you. So take care of yourself. Nobody cares more about your money than you do.
Absolutely.
Well, people have to diversify. They have to do their research and diversify. Get a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and tell your friends and your family, and then you can all prosper together when everything happens. So that's what we've done in my family.
Yeah, and see, April's asking the question, what currency do you invest in? April, with all due respect, go do your own work, buy the book, go do your own work. I'm not here to be your financial advisor. And what you're doing by asking that question is you're reverting right back to what the Khazarian Mafia wants. They want you dependent. You've got to become independent. You've got to learn about sovereignty, privacy, and self-reliability. I'm giving you the roadmap. I'm teaching you what you need to know, and I'm giving you other places.
I will say, Michael, when I was looking at your video, it inspired me and it affirmed certain things, because I've been wondering the same thing as April over the years. Which currencies do you invest in? So I did some studying, and your video kind of affirmed me. And that was, you talked about the countries that were the wealthiest and at the same time their currencies were significantly devalued. So I looked at you 5 countries that you named. I was like, I think he's on. Not that I think you're on to something, but I'm almost sure he's on to something, and maybe I'm going down the right direction.
And you absolutely are. You took the hint.
Yes.
Now do your own research, because you've got to find out which series to buy, what years to buy. The information's there. Just do the work. You took the hint, though. That's exactly right. Those countries that have been devastated are the ones that are exotic, and they're the most undervalued.
That's why they have nothing, because people went in and took their resources, because they're very valuable. So
absolutely,
you have to know some history too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know we've taken up almost about an hour and 17 minutes. I don't want to take too much of your time. Michael, you are a very successful entrepreneur. So I'm honored. I'm so honored that you're here. And I'm so thrilled that, you know why I'm thrilled? Because I learned from my sons and my daughter, who they went to college. I went to college too, but I took sociology, psychology, you know what I mean? Education, a few economic classes. They took business and all that. And they told me that you're only as smart as the people that are around you. And if you are the smartest person in your circle, then you don't have a good circle of friends. You know, so now I'm surrounded by people that like you and Mother Price, all these people that are smarter than I, way more successful than I'm on the right path. So thank you for being in my life, both of you.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's an honor.
Thank you, Dr. Kia. And Michael will be on my show Monday morning, The Quantum Warrior, at 11 a.m. Eastern.
Okay.
Yes, next
Thank
Monday.
you. Next Monday. Yes. And any final words, Michael, that you like to say?
Get involved. Get off your tushies. Find something to do. Put a smile on somebody's face. Quit sitting around all day and watching all the podcasters. Watch them, get your information. There's some really great shows out there. There's some great people that are bringing great information, but don't do it all day long. Get out, use the information, be productive, get involved. Don't say you can't afford it. Broke is a temporary condition. Poor is a state of mind. If you say you can't afford it, guys, and it's $30 or $100 or $200, you are poor. Get the hell out of the way. Quit being poor. Find a solution, get the book, find a solution, buy some assets. Doesn't take a lot. And you'll never have an opportunity like this to free yourself financially ever, ever, ever.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Michael. We appreciate you. And
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you, listeners, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank all the listeners for being here and participating. Just change your effort a little bit.
Change your effort. Thank you, Michael, because like you said, if you there's a difference between just being poor and having a poor mentality. Usually when you're poor, it's because you have a poverty mentality.
Absolutely.
You can get a second job. You can babysit. You can walk a dog, sit for somebody that's sick. You can sell all the things that you have in the house that you don't need. There is always a solution, right, Mike?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah,
absolutely.
definitely.
So if you want to support Gold Star Mother Susan Price, I am an affiliate with Nature Reigns underneath Gold Star Mother or beside Gold Star Mother Susan Price. Please, she has wonderful products that will help you with your immune system, boost your energy, get rid of the metals and things that are in your body. Go to Nature Reigns, NatureReigns.com, and it's /discount/Dr. Kia. This is the exact link, because going to that link will support both me and Mother. I really want you all to support Mother. If it weren't for Mother, I wouldn't meet people like Mike Avignon. I wouldn't have known Prime Minister and some of the other amazing people that she's introduced me to, Dr. Alaya. So please, this is a way we can support Gold Star Mother Susan Price, who has also helped over 150 people with humanitarian projects. She's done the work. She's helped you with the pictures. She's helped you lay it out, helped you with the name. She's done a lot of work for free. She says that is her humanitarian effort for us. But we need to show people like her and like Michael appreciation with our dollars. Now, I know they didn't say that. I'm saying that. The scripture talks about giving. A lot of people are poor because they're stuck in that mentality of what they cannot do. Instead of saying, I can't help, I can't give any money, I can't bless somebody, how can I? When you ask yourself, how can I, and just be about the business of doing it, you open up your mind. You open up realms of opportunities. So thank you so much for letting me rant.
Hallelujah.
I love you. On one more time, where can we get your book, Michael? Let me see if I could. You say go to PPN News is one place?
PPN News.
Okay.
And hit store. It's the first product.
Okay, let me see.
Replay the video, and at the end of the video, it's at the bottom also. Or you can go to American Wholesale.
Okay, wait a minute. ppnnews.com.
I think that's how it's listed.
I tell you what, I'll find it, family, and I'll put it in the description section. I'll also put this link of where you can get the digital book in the description section, and I will put Michael's phenomenal video that we all saw. So go ahead.
Dr. Kia, I'm with that network, thepatriotpartynews.com. That's what PPN means. Patriot. Yeah. And they can go there and then shop and they'll see it.
So
go
ahead.
And it's also it's at the end of the video as well.
Right. Play the videos, guys. Replay the video.
I'll bring that up for you, that website right quick, because I know Mother has to go in a few seconds. Make sure I got the right one. Is this it? This the Patriot Party News right here?
Yeah, and go to shop.
Okay, let me see if I can. Sorry, fam, I just wanted, here we go, shop.
At the top, yes.
I'm trying to hit the button. That it? Did it come up?
Should be the first. There's the book.
There's the book right here. Okay.
Now, I wanted to mention, those are not my products. My products are on NatureReigns.com.
Okay.
Those products there are separate from mine.
From yours.
But Michael's book is on there, but not my products.
And here's his book. Okay, my Mother, and I'm going to bring up your products. It is HTTPS.
You have the link. Let them use your link.
Yeah. Okay. because when you use my link, you're supporting both Mother
Both
and
of
me.
them.
And
Yeah.
trust, please, family, you all know that Mother is a gold star mother which means that she lost her son. Her son was killed in a line of duty fighting for our freedoms. And she's used all her energy from having gone through that experience to bring us all together and to inspire us and encourage us and uplift us, to prepare us for this new transition. So we really thank God for Mother, and we want to support her with our love, our energy, and our dollars.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kia. And like Michael said, just go to the end of the video, replay the video. That's what I do whenever I'm involved with wanting to learn something. I'll play that video 10 times and stop it just to look and see or hear what I need to, because it's a lot of information.
It is a lot of information. And we thank you so much, Michael. Hopefully you'll be back on the show sometime.
All you have to do is invite me.
Okay.
It would be an honor.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
Ladies, thank you so much. It's been really an honor to be with you. I appreciate the hospitality.
You're
See you
welcome.
Monday, Michael.
Okay, we sure will.
Okay.
All right, ladies. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's an
Thank
honor.
you, Dr. Kia.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, listeners. We
Thank
love
you,
you.
listeners. We love you so much. Mother, where can they find you? PPN News, Patriot Party News?
Well, I'm on the Quantum Warrior show. So if they go to Rumble and put in PPN/Quantum Warrior, they'll find my show. And
Okay.
I'm Mondays and Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Okay. Thank you, Mother. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye,
All right,
everyone.
family.
Love you.
Love you. Love you too. Bye, family. Have a great day. Make it great, okay? Bye-bye.
Bye.